Welcome, you're listening to John Hyman from Commercial Real Estate Online. This is another video in the series geared to the retail tenant mix reports for shopping centres. And of course, if you're interested in retail shopping centre management and leasing, this will have some interest for you. Most particularly, you can get the article which is supporting this particular video. The article is at the website, and here is the website. The particular article is called the 12 Factors to an Accurate Tenant Mix Report in a Retail Shopping Centre. You can print out the article there, and of course you can study the various links into other subtopics. So that is the article. It is on the website. The website is commercial-real-estate-training.com. And the particular article is 12 Factors to an Accurate Tenant Mix Report in a Retail Shopping Centre. And very recently I was over in Singapore looking at a number of shopping centres for a few property owners that I work for from a shopping centre perspective. And all shopping centres around the world are interesting and different. And of course I was able to get some ideas from Singapore and bring those ideas back to my home state of Queensland in Australia, and also to some other retail property owners that I work for in and around Australia. So going back into this particular video, as I said, this is the second video in the series. In the earlier video, I covered the first 3 points. That is the lease expiry dates and calendar, the anchor tenants and specialty tenants, and then also the marketing activities. What I was doing there was talking about accurate tenant mix reports for the property owner and for the centre manager. Now, just to recap, to get things started here, I'll go into those 3 other items very briefly so you can see what is contained in those items. So number 1 was the lease expiry dates and calendar. Now I'm interested there in what's coming up in the lease expiry dates. I'm worried about keeping tenants. Perhaps I want to move some tenants on. Maybe there are some good tenants that I want to keep. Whatever happens there, I need to understand what's coming up in the lease expiry dates and the calendar, and I would be looking 18 months to 24 months out to identify what tenants will present problems to me from a lease expiry perspective. And then of course I'll categorise those tenants into A, Bs and Cs. I'll look at the lease expiry calendar coming up, and I'll consider the options that may exist in the lease documentation. So I then went in the last video to the anchor tenants and the specialty tenants. Of course, anchor tenants are critical to the success of a shopping centre. The important thing here is that the anchor tenant is bringing something vital and also appropriate to the customer base for the shopping centre and the location. So make sure you've got the right anchor tenant and that their lease expiry is their lease is for the long term, and of course not expiring soon. So looking at the anchor tenant will allow you then to understand the specialty tenants and the interaction between the two. And that of course requires unique and special interaction strategies so that the marketing processes for the property for both the anchor tenants and the specialty tenants are correctly done. So I then went into the marketing activities for the property, considering the tenancy mix, and I was looking at the seasonal celebrations, the community calendars, and many other aspects to make sure that the selling seasons of the property are optimised for the things that are coming up. And of course you want the tenants involved in marketing activities. So they are the 3 things that I covered in the last video. Now I'll move on. So let's go back to the main topic here. I'm going to continue now with the accurate retail tenant mix reports as they apply to vacancy factors. Now what I'm worried about here with vacancy factors within the property, of course, will be the vacancies that are coming up, the vacancies that I can see or expect from the existing tenancy mix. And of course, the larger the number of tenants that you have in a retail property, the more complex those issues will be. So if I was looking at a tenancy mix within a shopping centre, and let's say a medium-sized to a large shopping centre, I'd be considering the important premises, the important tenancies that are located around the property. Now they may be by an importance by location. They might be in the doorways, in the turn points, in the mall, depending on how people circulate in and around the property, but I need to look at the important premises, the premises that people see when they walk in and around the property. From that point, I'll then be looking to and talking to the important tenants to understand if they do intend to vacate at the end of their lease or if they would like me to help them with ongoing occupancy. As I said before in the earlier video, I like to work 18 months to 2 years out when it comes to lease expiries and lease negotiations. So my important tenants will be featuring in those discussions and considerations. I want to know who the important tenants are, those tenants that I want to keep over time, and why do I want to keep them? Perhaps they are critical to the tenancy mix and the customer attraction for the property. So next I'll be looking at lease incentives. Sometimes to keep tenants in properties, you do need to create lease incentives. You need to offer the tenants something more to stay in occupancy. Yes, I know they may be in occupancy now, and yes, there is an inconvenience factor for them to move. However, they may still require something to stay. That may be a rent reduction, maybe a rent-free period, maybe some fit-out money to improve their premises again for the next lease term. So don't be afraid at looking at all the variations of lease incentives as they apply to the leasing situation in any shopping centre. It's better to keep your existing tenants, providing they are the right tenants for your tenancy mix for the long term. So go a bit further here. I'd be interested to know the vacancy factors and the market rents that apply to the vacancies. Of course, market rents change all the time, and there are a number of different rents to consider. Of course, there's gross rent, there's net rent, there's the outgoings that apply to the rental structure, and you need to understand whether they are effective rents or face rents. Now, effective rents are rents that have been stacked by some involvement of an incentive to attract the tenant into location. If the tenant is in location without any incentive, then it'll be an effective rent. So consider the market rents and the trends of those, perhaps going up or down depending on the market conditions. And of course, the quality of your retail property will have something to do with the market rent into the future. And you will need to look at the competing properties in the location, understand what properties are competing with your property today. Of course, you may need to go and inspect those other properties to see what they're doing with their vacancies, with their tenancies, with the anchor tenants and with the specialties. Understand everything. That is when it comes to protecting your tenancy mix from the pressures of other properties. Market rents, they will change. Make sure you're ahead of the market rent changes as they apply to your shopping centre. So, I did say earlier I would go to other nearby properties to understand what's going on with them. They may have high or low vacancy factors, and you need to look at that. You should take a list of tenants from every other shopping centre so that you can use those tenancy lists to perhaps attract some of those tenants to your property over time. Don't be afraid to pull tenants from other properties to your property. If they're the right tenant, talk to them in their location elsewhere. So I'm still in vacancy factors, and I'll now look at risk. So what is the risk that vacancies presents to you? Vacancies, of course, can be an extended vacancy period. That can be a loss of rent for a good period of time. You may not want that. Or, alternatively, the landlord may not have a problem with that if they're looking to change the premises, maybe do a renovation or a relocation. So there is a risk that comes with a vacancy, a risk of a loss of rent, but you might be able to do something positive with it. So look at the risk, do something with it. Now, threats. Threats are something that apply to each and every tenancy. If you're understanding the lease documents that exist in each occupancy, you'll have certain threats of occupancy where the tenants may consider relocating or maybe considering going to another property where the occupancy costs are lower. So that's a threat. And you don't want to let a threat take over your cash flow, your rental income from the retail property. So consider what those tenants are doing, thinking, and perhaps being attracted to in other properties nearby. You have to be better. You need to offer better conditions of ongoing occupancy to keep your tenants in occupancy in your property. So, the last point here is the vacancy trends that apply in the market today. Now, vacancy trends hopefully are low, but some properties have high vacancies, and particularly the newer shopping centres that are still getting established with customers and also tenants. The vacancy threats in those properties may be significant. So look at your property, compare your vacancy trends to other properties nearby. Look at the new shopping centres, look at the new developments that are coming up to understand if there is a vacancy trend in the market that's different than the trend of vacancies in your property. So they are the vacancy factors. That is understanding the important premises, the important tenants, the lease incentives that do apply in the market today, the market rents that apply in your property and how they compare to other properties, the nearby properties that could impact your occupancy, the risk of a loss of tenant in your property today, also any threats that apply from the tenancy mix and the vacancy trends in this market. So let's go on a little bit further. Let's go to item number 5. Relocation strategies as they apply to retail tenant mix reports. Now, this says that some of your tenants may like to be relocated. They may need to expand or contract. You need to understand what the tenant's thinking and how their business is flowing within the customer base for your shopping centre and how the customers are impacting the tenants that are in your shopping centre. Of course, the retail offering today is changing with the impact of the internet. Some tenants simply have to find another way of handling the higher occupancy costs. So these particular items I'll be handling in the next video. These are the items today as noted there for you. So perhaps we can talk later in the next video and you can get further details from this. This is John Hyman signing off for now, and I'll catch you again very soon online with the next video in the Accurate Retail Tenant Mix Reports series.